I just want to welcome Neil Engel today. There's so much to say. Father, husband, band leader, MD, arranger, composer, singer, artist, producer. Worked with so many artists. Have I left anything out?
Clown. No.
Beamers, University of Cape Town. So just want to welcome you to the Zeal Movement podcast, and today we're talking about a very interesting subject. So Neil, thank you for joining me. I really appreciate your time and your expertise, and we're going to get straight into it. So
Thanks for having me, man.
But yeah, how are you?
I'm good. I'm not as good as you. I'm not at the beach at the moment, so but going well. Can't complain. It's been an amazing start to the year. I think there's definitely, from a music industry perspective, I guess it's definitely a different. The scene is a little different now from maybe last year or the year before, which is nice to see, and it's nice to still be, it's just really God's grace that I'm still involved in music at all. I think,
Sure.
If you look at what happened in the last 3 years, there's been a lot of changes, in the music industry. There's been a lot of changes in church music as well. I think in the end, we a lot of people had to adjust, and I think I just feel very grateful and very blessed to still be doing what I was doing before all of that happened, So yeah, so that's kind of what's happening with me. That's where we are, man. But no,
I think first of all, getting into this, we're going to be talking about critical listening, the different perspectives about that. That's going to be our subject matter today, and I'm sure I'm going to get you back again because we probably need 5 days to unpack this, and we've got short time today to just get into it and to start. So I've got certain practical areas we'll start with, and we'll kind of get into that. I think we are speaking mostly to people that are not full-time musicians.
Okay.
People that have got jobs outside of music, and serve and serve in churches, most of them, and very little musical training knowledge. So I think one thing that that kind of tweaked my idea to this was I took a 10-piece band and I gave them each the same exercise, saying, write something here that you are hearing. So in other words, here's a song, we're going to critical listen. What is this doing? What's that doing? What's happening here? What's happening there? And what happened was each 10 worksheets came back with completely different answers. So nobody in the band was kind of on the same page when it came to listening. I think that's what piqued the interest for this, realizing just how important this was. Because now think about that, right? If the band isn't listening in kind of the same vein, already it puts you on the back foot with relationships. Now I'm trying to tell you something that I'm hearing, you're not understanding me, you're telling me a different story, and it comes down to listening, right? It starts there. So I just know if you want to just quickly just jump in on that and just the importance of it before we get into specifics, just the importance of being able to listen critically and properly.
So the thing is that music is has layers, so you get this like, if we can call it, let's say the first layer is when you press play on a song and the song just makes an impression on you, right? That's like the first layer. You press play, the song makes an impression on you, and you're not hearing a lot of detail necessarily. You're just hearing like the feel of the song. You're hearing like, okay, this is a praise song, this is a worship song. The song is like, it's a high energy song, or it's a kind of a very chilled kind of song, or whatever it is. In the end of the day, that's the way that maybe most people hear music off the bat. Like, if you not a musician, if you're not someone who plays an instrument, if you're not someone who gets into music, into the detail of like chords or notes, or you don't play songs or perform songs, or you're not involved in music in that way, then the first thing you're going to hear is really just you're going to feel the song. You're just going to feel like what the song feels like. So that's maybe the first thing. But when it comes to being someone who's going to, something to bear in mind, and I think maybe this is the most important thing, is that when you are a musician, like especially in church, when you are a musician in church and you in ministry, and all those kinds of things, that feeling that you get when you press play on like a Todd Delaney song or like a, elevation song or whatever, and all those things that happen when you engage with that music is what you need to create when you minister to other people. If I can sum it up in like one sentence, and the reason for us maybe even talking about the whole critical listening concept is that you'll need to go into more detail than just I like this song. This is so powerful, the anointing is so strong on this. You're going to have to go into more detail than that. Because if you're playing piano or you playing the guitar, or you are the lead singer, or you're a backing vocal, you're a soprano or an alto or whatever, you are going to have to go beyond just, I love this song so much. You're going to have to go beyond that. You're going to have to go and not only listen to what your role would be in that piece of music, but also what's happening with everyone else, and how you kind of fit in. And I think that, too often we sometimes in this, and we all, we all do this sometimes, is we look at things very surface level, because it's hard work, with,
Yeah.
music is so detailed, someone went to a lot of trouble to, like, if you look at a song like Lion, right? Or one of those, like some of the newer songs, someone went into a lot of detail to make those 6 minutes sound that good, and to, you know what I mean? Like we want to show up on, to a 2 or 3 hour rehearsal every week. And I know this because I've been part of many ministries and I've worked at a lot of churches. And Kurt, you didn't say that. You didn't say that, Kurt. You didn't tell them.
Yes, sorry.
I am a Christian, and so the thing is, in the end of the day, the thing is like, you've got this piece of music that's 6 minutes long that took people months to make, 3 to 6 months to write that song, to come up with the whole, the chorus and the hook and the, how are we gonna produce this? We're gonna have that piano thing, we're gonna have those chords, we're gonna have that, this many guitar overdubs, and we try to kind of slap that together in 2 or 3 hours in a rehearsal before the Sunday, so, so if you look at it in perspective, that's already off the bat, that's like, it's not going to necessarily sound like the record, when you when you have that little time. So the whole idea is, and I've done a lot of, one of the things I do is, I work with a lot of different churches where I go in and I do like these workshops, and I work with like mostly vocal arranging, because I feel like sometimes there's a lot of need for, blending and for tone and articulation and everyone doing things the same way, and also just like having a workflow in rehearsals and things like that. And I work with musicians in the band, and what I find most of all, there's this sense of like lack of preparation before the actual rehearsal. Like before you get to the band, the band practice during the week or whatever, there has to be some kind of, engagement with the music on your own. You have to kind of familiarize yourself with what's happening there. Not even, and I'm not saying just like jam it in your car and you just kind of, yeah, obviously, you probably, most of the songs you'd be familiar with those songs anyway. But then it boils down to, okay, let's listen with a little bit more detail. And I think what most people don't, well, if you really think about it, and I'll put this to everyone, when you hear a song for the 1,000th time, you're hearing more detail on that occasion than you did the very first time you heard it, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's just a normal human thing. So that's why music producers take their time to make sure that all the details in a production and in a song that's going to be released, that all the little things are buttoned up and everything's done. Because eventually your ear naturally starts picking up all the detail, it just starts picking up, oh, I never heard that before. Like, oh, wow, there's that little sound there, there's a synth, or there's a, or the bass player did something totally different in that chorus than he did in the first chorus. So the thing is really, naturally your ear is going to pick up more detail the more you listen to something,
Yeah.
naturally,
So I've
but
got a note here. I've got a note here saying, why do we need to develop a listening intentionality? So I guess that's kind of covering
yeah.
that, you know. So why do we need to be intentional about listening? Like how does that change? Like, in other words, I'm a listener, I'm an avid listener, but how do I become an intentional hearer? You know what I mean? Like, is it something that I can actually develop?
It is something you can develop. I mean, the thing is that in the world of music, there's a saying, um, if you can't hear it, you can't fix it, and if you can't hear it, you can't do it. It's like singing. If you don't, like, you won't be able to pitch that note if you don't hear the note first,
Yeah.
and then you sing the note. It's the same thing. So um with hearing, a song, there's a very big difference between hearing a song and just kind of letting it sort of wash over you, versus listening to it with the intent of using it as a tool, because this is what we do in church. We take what some, there's a song that someone took the time to write and was birthed, in the spirit, and it's like something that's seasonal. Maybe it's something that's for now. It's maybe a very powerful message, and you want to be able to, like, let's say you watch the live performance, or you watch, like, let's say Elevation Church or whoever performing something on, like, you watch it on YouTube, you watch the reaction, you watch the whole thing. So you want to tap into what's happened there. You want to almost convey that same message. You want to give people that same connection to God that the song is. You want to tap into that, what's happening in that season with that song. So the only way the only way that happens is, and everyone gets very, when we talk about the anointing, we talk about all these things, you have to think about what is your final intention with what you're doing with the music, right? What is the ultimate goal in the end, and then work backwards from there. So the thing is, though, so even if the ultimate goal is, we want to get people to worship, right? We want people to have an encounter with God, you still need to know the exact piano chords, and you need to know what voicing that guy is playing in order to do that. Because you can go, and this happens often, you can go and play the same song that another person is playing. But when that person does it, something else happens,
Happens.
something else, yeah. And why is that? It's because just like with anything else in life, music is not, everyone is always on about, oh, you're so talented, or oh, you've got that gift, or whatever the case is. And yeah, everyone in the world has talents, everyone has gifts. But what people neglect to mention in music is that 9 times out of 10, it's hard work. You can have all the talent in the world and sound like average,
Mhm.
and sound average from the outside looking in. And the thing is that whatever your goal is, you need to get into the mechanics of the whole thing. Like, you need to understand first. It's like when you're singing, right? If you've not sung all the long notes, if you've not felt what your voice sounds like when you sing a loud note, when you sing that high note at the end of the song, wherever, if you've not sung out all the cobwebs, done all the, like, exercises, felt what it feels like to breathe, then what are you going to be doing when you're supposed to be ministering? When you're supposed to be just focusing on God and just focusing on the words and focusing on the intention in the moment, you're going to be thinking, oh, that note is coming. Ooh, I need to, ooh, you know what I mean? Like, that's where you're at, And the whole point of listening, critical listening, and almost like making the effort to kind of, hear the detail in what's going on, um, like the engine of the whole thing, is so that it frees you up to actually just go and express yourself. That's the
Yeah.
whole point. That's the whole point of the exercise. The point of the exercise is, you want to go out and minister. You want to be free to do that. You want to not be bogged down by details, by things that you don't understand, by things that you're not able to physically do because you're not even aware that those should be able to do. So for me, the main the main thing is that, when you have these moments where there's some new repertoire you want to attempt, or you want to try, you've got like a goal in mind. Work backwards from that goal and, start at the beginning, like sit down with a song and, think about the intention of the song. Think about what's happening there. For
Let
me,
me let me ask you, let me give you this next note because it bleeds into kind of what you're saying now. So my next note here is, how do we get onto the same page as a band through listening and language?
okay.
So
So this is a very
how would
interesting
we,
thing.
so now we that 10-piece band, we
Yeah,
all have
yeah,
different
yeah,
language about listening.
yeah.
How do we develop that together?
So this what needs to happen here, and this comes back to like some basic music theory. Okay, so when you talk about the band, like the band is really the band is the engine of the team, of the worship team. The band is like what keeps the whole thing going. And what needs to happen there is there's a little bit of basic music theory that needs to happen. Like I see this in churches all the time. It's like half the time it's about communication. It's about being able to all talk about the same concepts in a piece of music and refer to the same things in the same way, so that we all understand, that stab is on beat 4, or the bass note, that bass is going to chord 1, or the bass is playing chord 5, or that's happening there. So with this kind of thing, there has to be some music theory, and not to say that we all need like degrees or anything, but there has to be that sense of, okay, we understand
Understanding.
how basic harmony works, how chords work, how chords, follow on, like the formula of chords, because it doesn't matter what key you're playing in. Chords are, music is like formula, it's the same progressions that get used all the time. It's just maybe it's done in a slightly different way. And once you have a group of musicians that all kind of speak the same language, you know, um, if we all understand rhythm, if we all understand like time, 4/4, 6/8, the difference between those things, if we all understand dynamics, okay, like if we all understand rhythm to the point where we can speak about, uh, like stabs and stops and things like that, and just those kind of basic things
Yeah.
help with, and also structure, like being able to talk about structure. Gospel music is funny that way. Gospel music is very much the same thing over and over again, because the current time that we're living in, the time that the times we're living in now, there's a way that people like to flow with music in worship. There's this formula of, you've got verse 1 is just the lead vocal, right? Okay, on their own. First chorus, okay, watch me. First chorus is everyone in unison, right? Second, then there's a little interlude, which is similar to the introduction that we had. It's like maybe half the length, right? Then you have that. Then you have verse 2 is everyone in unison, and maybe the lead vocal is noodling on top or something. Then you've got chorus 2, it's a 3-part harmony or something. It's like B. Then we build. Then there might be like an instrumental section after that. Then there's a bridge, like a breakdown. Then there's a breakdown. Then there's a build up, like a massive build up, right? Like it's like the end times kind of build up. Like it sounds like the whole, it sounds like a U2 song. Everything sounds like that. So then it breaks down to like a chorus with just vocals and drums, or just vocals and piano, right? So does that sound familiar? That's like every gospel song we learn in church. Every, like, it really, it does that. So the thing is that if we all off the bat as the band, if we already off the bat are aware that that's what we're going to be dealing with, and the dynamics of that. First verse, there's one vocalist, right? So our intensity must be sort of there, right? There's piano and pads, there's drums. First chorus, not a full groove, maybe it's just toms, right? So you as the drummer, you need to be thinking that. You as the bass player, you're thinking, I'm not coming in immediately. I might play the introduction, and then I'm not playing the first verse, I'm coming in on the chorus. Or maybe not even, I'm coming in on the interlude after the first chorus, where the full groove comes in, So the thing with musicians and the 10-piece band, you can have as big a band as you want. If everyone understands how the basic theory of it, like how the arrangement works, like sections, like which section goes where, geography, and how to talk about dynamics and how to talk about, so for example, if you're the drummer and the bass player, the dynamics of the song hinges on your decisions almost entirely. If you're the drummer, you almost dictate the intensity of the song the whole way through. So you need to know that arrangement. Like, you need to know it in frightening detail. You need to know, oh, there I'm just sort of doing little cymbal things, and then I come in with 4 to the floor, or then I come in with, you need to know every cycle. At every cycle there's a build up.
Yeah.
There's a like, if you think of that song Won't Stop Now,
Yeah.
there's that ending that gets so big, that's so amazing. But it's like every cycle of that tail end, is it, it builds. So you, as a band, you need to be able to do that and be able to explain and communicate with each other, and both have everyone have the same intention going in.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a bit of that, like within the church band, there'll have to be that thing where maybe the MD or whoever's in charge or whatever needs to just talk about, okay, this is what I say when I mean this, or this is what we talk about. Maybe you have the lyrics and melody, or even a lead sheet or something, and you make notes. You make notes of a lot of the lead sheets that come off praise charts and that now. They actually have a lot of detail. They say, oh, building on eighths, like the band builds on eighths there. All these things that sculpt the sound of the music it actually has a massive impact on the moment. When you're in ministry, like it changes the whole atmosphere. When you have the whole group of musicians doing the same thing, or within same intent, and it really just boils down to, like, firstly understanding how, like, the arrangement would maybe work, like how it works most times, and what to expect. Like, when you're listening, you're expecting that there's going to be intro, verse, chorus, bridge. You kind of expect that. You're expecting maybe there's a chorus tag, like there's like a O or something, or guitar solo. So you expect those things, and everyone thinks about that as it happens. Like when you on the first time you listen to it, like, and before you get to rehearsals, you're already thinking, oh, that's where I fit in. And again, there's a big responsibility on everyone. There's a responsibility on everyone, but definitely on the drummer. You have a huge responsibility to actually, the size of the moment is totally up to you. And this is very important.
So I think to sew that up, um, so through proper training as a band, I think getting everybody onto the same page to sew that up. How do we get onto the same page? And yeah, I guess through training and getting somebody to talk about the language that we use. Like you say, it's important. I just found it really interesting that, and I think that's what makes us unique, is the fact that we do all hear things different. And I think the challenge with that is the challenge that can create on stage when you're not understood. So
Yes.
my next question is then, how do we develop the skill of listening?
Sure. So the idea is that, and this is something that I, because I also teach. So I mean, I teach part-time at Wits, university. I do like composition and arrangement. So sometimes it's big groups that I or formats that I teach, like how to arrange for an 18-piece band, for example, and the roles that the different instruments play in that um, scenario. And the important thing about so critical listening is, like the word says, you have to be critical, you have to be a little bit more detailed. It's like needle in a haystack kind of listening, in a sense. So you're not just listening and having this kind of impression of, this sounds so nice. We'll be going beyond that now. So now and we do exercises like this with students, where you have to start picking things out now. You have to start, like, picking things out and seeing the correlation between different songs, hearing the sounds that you are familiar with, like like try and pick out what you hear, like the various different, I mean, that sounds like probably what you asked them to do, the exercise. Like, start by picking out the different instruments you can hear, like, what am I hearing here? I'm hearing guitar, I'm hearing pad, I'm hearing a bell sound on the synth, I'm hearing, the drums, I'm hearing this, start picking them out as you're listening through. You would, after the 1,000th time of hearing that song, you would hear all those details anyway, because you'd have heard it so many times that by then your ear, and this is how our ears work, our ears like skim over the things we're already familiar with and tries to find other things, and it naturally finds other things and latches onto new things within the music. So the thing to do now is to put ourselves in that situation earlier in the process, try and get to that quicker,
Yeah.
and the way to do that is you have to physically, it's a muscle that you have to exercise, it's not something that's just going to happen, and we don't necessarily have the time to listen to a track like before rehearsal. We don't have the time to listen to something 1,000 times over. Sometimes, like even for me, sometimes you're listening to something on the way to rehearsal in your car, or you're listening with pods during your day, or
What about just listening to music in general? I mean, I think that's a question I need to ask a lot of students. Like, do you
yeah,
guys actually listen to
mm,
music? I
yeah,
think I find a lot of musicians in bands, church bands, that just don't listen to music, and that
yeah,
could already be a good starting point by just saying, you know what, like,
yeah.
I need to be listening to music.
Yeah, it's one of those things that you can really incorporate into a lot of situations. It's the kind of thing that, and it's I've realized that it's like even with my wife here at home. I grew up with like music being a part of a lot of things. Like
Yeah.
it was not very quiet. Around. Like there was always like things. And in the car and everywhere and at home and parties and things like that where my wife didn't grow necessarily grow up that way. So for her, it's nice when it's quiet. And it's like okay, no. Whereas with me and then now with my son, the Spotify playlist is on, like the whole, like if we spend the Saturday together, it's there, it's there the whole time. So it's a funny thing that even if there's music in the background, even if music is just something that throughout your day, you use it like maybe in the morning, like you have some in the quiet time if you're doing that, or on the way when you're driving to work, or you're having lunch and maybe you're by yourself or wherever, you just put the pods in, or and what you listen to is important, because you know, in the end of the day, your ear is going to pick up things. You're going to develop that sense of, again, the more you listen to something, the more familiar you get with it. And then naturally you start peeling away the layers, that's what it is. There's layers in music, you're never
Yeah.
going to hear everything on the first listen. You won't hear everything on the first listen. You'll pick up some things, but the more you listen to it, the more after a while you're like, wow, I didn't know this says that, or I didn't know this says that. You're like, wow, and after a while, and this is the sort of thing with us, like with Kurt and I, we like, we work in the music industry. So you find that you naturally, when you hear something, you start analyzing for no reason.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
We
Like
hearing
for
stems.
yeah, we're hearing stems, we're hearing like separate, we're hearing all the little separate things. You're like, oh, that was nice, that was a good idea. Or you critically listening without even, like you're watching a movie and
Yeah.
you're hearing the soundtrack and you're hearing all the funny things, and Black Panther's on and there's a dark ominous sound, and you're like, oh, or like Avatar, you're hearing all the. So the thing is, in the end of the day, this is something that can be like developed, it can be, and by listening more, it will develop, by just
Mm.
listening more.
I think
But
it's, I
then by
mean,
listening
music,
with intent, by listening with some
yeah.
intent, it will help,
Music, I think this is the thing, the crux of music is that it does require training.
It does
Music
require training.
requires training,
It does require training. Look, it's almost like, it's like the same like art, it's like painting, it's like you need to know, I mean, this is at its basic form now. You need to know which two colors go together to make green, right?
I
If
know,
you
I know.
didn't know,
No,
yeah,
I don't
you
actually.
don't. If you didn't know, you wouldn't know, how to get that. You'd be
Yeah.
like, and you're hearing, and the whole song that you're listening to is green, and you're like, I need to try this, and you start trying different things. You're mixing like red with like, white or something, or, and you're like, so, green and blue and yellow, like, so music is the same thing. You're
Blue
only
and yellow.
going to be able to, yeah, there you go, man. The only thing is, is with music is that it does take a little bit of time to learn those things, but it's 1,000% worth it, because,
Yeah.
and you don't have to learn, like, again, you don't have to learn, it's just the basics, like, what does the geography of a song look like? What is the anatomy of a song,
Yeah.
like, it's not random, there's nothing random. Music is all formula, it's nothing
Yeah.
random. The way chords move, you find that a lot of
There's
songs
order.
are
There's
the
a lot
same.
of order.
There's
Yeah.
order, it's completely order there, and
Yeah.
even vocals, harmonies, there's, if you're looking at mostly what everyone does now, like 3 parts, you're looking at soprano, alto, tenor. Sometimes it inverts, sometimes the melody's on the alto, sometimes the melody's on soprano, and then everyone, or sometimes it's on the tenor, and you have a very high voicing for the end of the song.
Yeah.
These are things that are the same for all the songs that you're going to be learning. They're the same. There's no, there's not much deviation from that. So off the bat, when you're listening to songs, even secular songs, there's that same, there's that same
Order.
flow. And I
Yeah.
mean, if you were someone, you had a church where you desperately want to write your own songs, or you want to start like doing your own music, doing your own, developing your own thing. These are important things, this is a way to actually really understand. It's like baking a cake as well. It's like you could experiment your own way. You could say, okay, let's try, instead of milk, let's use apple juice, or let's, we got the eggs, we've got the sugar, but instead of sugar, let's not use sugar, man. Let's try something. You could be doing that, but the basic way of making a cake is the same thing. It's the same.
Yes.
It's the same thing over and over with minor tweaks, right? There's cocoa for chocolate, right? There's different flavors for, that's the thing, so you almost want to get down to the meat and potatoes of music, and the basics, and the, like, how do you just do the main thing, the
Yeah.
main thing, which is the groove, the rhythm, the chords, the harmonies, the
The
arrangement
basics. Get the
style, the
basics. Get the
structure.
basics right.
Just get the basics. Yeah, get the basics right, understand the basics, and then the intention of everyone in the room upon arrival will be, you'll be more
And
productive
and
immediately.
listening, obviously, like we say, listening will get you there.
Yeah,
It's
you,
a part of getting you there.
if you don't know, if you're not aware of something, how do you even begin to know that, hey, I need to do that? Like,
Yeah.
you wouldn't even know. Like, if you're a piano player and you've not heard like that, oh, that piano player is not just playing a bass note and blocking a chord, he's doing something else. If you've not picked up, oh, that section of the song is different, or that's different, if you didn't pick that up, you're not going to do it. You're not
No,
going to.
we're going to have another conversation about why that's important. That will, because I mean, there's just so much to talk about.
Yeah.
There's tons of stuff to talk about. The last question I've got for you is listening when preparing versus listening when you're on the stage.
Ah.
So how
Ooh.
does so I'm busy preparing for Sunday now, listening to the song, and then I climb onto stage, and obviously I'm aware of what's going on around me,
Mm.
listening. What's the difference?
Okay, the difference now is, you're listening in the beginning, you're listening from outside the music, right? You're listening, the music's being played, you absorbing what's going on, you kind of like being aware of different things. You externally, you're on the outside, you just you're aware of this and that, it's nice, wow, that's cool. You maybe are aware of your own role in something like that, like we always listen to our own instrument first, I think, when you hear the when you hear the music, you kind of latch onto, like, like, if you were a drummer, you latch onto the groove, if you were a singer, you hear the lead vocal, if you were a guitarist, you hear so the thing is that when the difficulty, and I think the challenge now, is when you get on stage and you're together with all the other musicians, you have to know your role, right? You have to know, like, where do I fit now? Like, what's my job? It's like that old saying, you had one thing to do, and this is what it is, you really just have that one thing to do, and your thing is important, your thing is like, it's in the context of the puzzle, it's probably vital. Like if you're a bass player, your responsibility is huge. Like you're playing the harmony, but you're also playing the rhythm, like the groove.
How does
You have
listening
to
on
sit in the
stage kind
pocket
of
with the
bleed
drummer,
into
but you
that?
also
Like,
have to play the right chords.
so,
So
so how,
so that
yeah.
so yeah, oh sorry, I'm getting that. So you listening on stage, you're listening differently. You are now listening, you are now in the music, right? You're now in the music. So your listening is like the biggest issue is you prepare as well as you can, okay, for when you go and play on stage. You prepare as well as you can. But when you're in the situation, you react and you play, the whole thing is just make it nice, just play the music and play it as well as you can and make it as nice as you can. The intention must always be like to be in the moment, because sometimes things happen differently. You might end up doing an extra chorus, you might end up, the feel of that bridge might be more broken down, it might not be big anymore, because in that moment, especially with more so with praise and worship, that things change and the moment changes, and the whoever's up front, maybe the pastor wants something else. He wants like, no, we've got to break down now, or go, or the MD or someone will show you what to do. They'll be like, so now all of a sudden you've got to be aware. There's got to be that awareness, so you got to be firstly aware of what the leadership is doing. You can't just be a musician in the back,
Yeah.
or a singer just singing my BV thing. You've got to be aware what's going on. Like if they want, you know what I mean? If it's altar call, if it's something and it's got to be quiet, then you can't be singing your tenor part like, like it's, you gotta, and sing softly and blend or whatever, and then you've got to be the kind of musician that, you've got to be aware of what, for example, usually the piano player is the MD of in these situations, or guitar, or usually a chordal person. You've got to take your lead from that person. You've got to like be, okay, where are we going? And you might be cycling the bridge, or you might be cycling the end, or you might be, so you've got to be aware of what did I hear there? What is that? Is he playing the chorus? Is he playing the bridge? And that comes from having listened beforehand, like being familiar with what goes on beforehand. And then if you, like, for example, you're a guitarist, right? You're not going to like have all the drive over the drive and the everything open, all like on the breakdown. You're gonna now, okay, you're gonna go clean, clean sound, maybe some delay, change delays or something to fill the space, change your reverb a little bit, and then you're gonna do things that are going to complement that moment. And this also comes from listening, because how do you know what's going to be nice when the piano player's just got pad and piano going? How do you know? You're not going to strum like a Nile Rodgers style something, that's like completely the opposite thing. You're going to do something that's like high and just kind of light, and it's just going to add, and some notes you're going to swell in and out, that kind of thing. So you only know what to do based on your taste, and you only have taste, and you only develop taste by listening. You're only listening beforehand, and then when you're in on the bandstand, listening in the moment, because like now you've got all these chops and these toys and these ideas that you can put in the music, but you don't know when to use them. You know what I'm saying? It's like there's a tool for every, there's a knife to chop vegetables, and there's a cleaver for the meat, and there's a bread knife for the bread, right? So the thing is, like, there's a moment for everything, so knowing when to do those things is being aware in the moment. Like you have to be really aware. Like you can't just show up and like, phone it in. You can't phone it in, you've got to be there. Like, and especially things like, I'll touch on it quickly, like drum and bass, together, like you've got to be on the same page, you've got to be on the same, like everything must be, in the pocket, like together, like, and if someone does something slightly different from rehearsal, that's okay. You can go with that, you can, if everyone, here's the thing, if everyone does everything together, then the whole thing sounds amazing, regardless if you do something that you didn't rehearse, or you do something you've never done before, or if someone requests something and you're like, oh, we've never really played that, but we kind of know it, let's do it. You listen, you live in the moment, you follow whoever's leading, and you follow like the basic flow of music, man. It's like you just have to be, it's an awareness thing, like awareness, listening up front, ahead of time, and then awareness when you're in the moment, and it's now I'm delivering my role on my instrument. There's a it's a very, if everyone thinks the same way, the ultimate sort of what happens ultimately is it just becomes amazing. It sounds like chalk and cheese from what it was. If everyone is on the same page, if everyone listens, and if everyone's with the same intention, if everyone's got the same intention going in, and heard the same things, picked
Yeah.
up the same things, like you said, like that page that you had with all the different people, and everyone came up with different things. It's because people didn't have the same intention going in, the same detail. Like if everyone picks up the same important detail, then the minute you count the band in, even if you're playing the song for the first time, it's going to sound like something already.
Yeah.
Because I heard what the bass player does there. I heard what the guitar's doing there, kind of. I know more or less. Immediately, everyone's moving in the same direction, It's,
Yes.
yeah, that's really what it boils down to.
Do you have any words, or not? I shouldn't say do you have. I said, could you just give us some words of encouragement of guys that are starting this journey, and the along the lines of enjoying the process of learning music?
Mm-hmm. So the cool thing about music is that music is it's like building blocks. Okay, it's building blocks. It's accumulative. So the minute you've got something under the belt, it never leaves you. Okay, it never leaves you. Okay, it's almost like it's like riding a bicycle. You've learned to ride a bicycle, you now ride a bicycle forever. Or you've learned to swim, you now swim forever. Okay, it's not the kind of thing where I learned this thing, but now if I come back to it in a month or so, I'm going to suck. No, you need to practice, right, to keep things up there. But once you've learned something, once you understand something, it's that no one can take it away from you, and it will serve you for the rest of your life. I mean, if you take just, let's say, one little thing at a time, even just some YouTube tutorials, or I've learned a lot from YouTube. If there's something I'm like, what is that, or how are they doing that? I go check it out. YouTube is like a whole university. And no, it really is. And
It
you can
is. Agreed.
literally like pick any song you want to learn on any instrument, and there'll be something. And you'll find that, and this is what music is like exactly, is that you start slowly and you unravel the whole thing. It's like a jersey, right? That's been knitted, right? And it always ends with a one knot, right? There's like that one knot, And the whole thing is you just need to start, you just need to start with where the starting point is for you, wherever you are, the level that you're at. And you go on from there, and you start working at that knot, you just start, gradually untangling things, and you start learning little by little. And eventually you unravel the whole thing, because if you get that one thing loose, the whole thing unravels. It's almost like music is, you work consistently as well. Like music is not about, you're going to learn everything 2 hours on a Saturday. No, it's not going to happen that way. So you do little by little. So you tell yourself, okay, I'm going to listen to these songs this week. I'm going to just kind of and enjoy it. Like listen to the things you love to listen to. Like get into the things you like. And then maybe when you do have a free moment, you check out that particular song, the thing that you like. You're like, what is this? How did that happen? Where does that come from? Blah blah blah. And you make the effort. You do a little bit of maybe you go for a lesson with someone who plays your instrument. That helps a lot as well. That cuts a lot of corners there, fast tracks a lot of things, and it's also fun because now you're hanging out with one of your peers, and they're showing you things, and they're telling you about their experiences, and you're learning more than just the notes, And then in the end of the day, you start this journey, little by little, you little by little by little, and you have this in your mind, I'd love to sound like that on piano. And at the moment you think just, you know what, I'm like nowhere now, and you're starting very basic, and you're starting very simple. You're learning a little voicing here and there, you're doing this. Eventually you will end up on the other side, and you'll realize it one day. It's not like there's a day that it clicks, like you'll just slowly but surely work, and eventually you'll sit back and be like, whoa, I can actually do this, like that's how it works, it's about consistency. It's not about trying to do everything all at once and quick results like in a month. It's about consistently doing a little bit all the time. And eventually it again, it's building blocks. The minute you're able to do something, you're able to do it, and then it's just, you just add to that the whole time. You just kind of add to it. And the thing is, my best advice is, work on the music that you love to listen to. Like, work on the things that you love, because you're going to want to learn to do that thing. You know, you're going to want to use it on different occasions. It's important to learn the basics of music theory as well. It's important to maybe just understand notes, keys. Like, you have to understand keys, you know, if you're a guitarist or piano player. Every instrument has its basic thing that you need to latch onto. But most importantly, you know, you don't want to lose your love and passion for the thing. You know, you want to do the stuff that you enjoy, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, that would be my advice.
Neil, so yeah, thank you so much. We'll definitely keep these conversations going, because there is so much to talk about, to encourage guys out there that are starting out on this journey of saying, you know, like, I'm in church, I want to upskill, you know, I want to serve at the best of my ability, you know.
And doing it in a
that's important, you know.
And if you're part-time, you know, it's I think it's challenging, you know, like I get that, you know, like if you got a hectic day job and you're on your way to rehearsal, you know, and you're like, I don't know, you know, I didn't, you know, so it's tricky, you know. And but like I was saying, you know, like you do these things once, you know, and you learn them once, and you have it, you know. But yeah, no, thanks for having me.
Pleasure. So
and I love the awards. I love the awards in the background. I'm seeing all the accolades.
There's only one.
Very cool. Oh.
Anyway, but thank you so much, and
man,
we'll definitely have you back if you share some more of your wisdom with us. I really appreciate it.
I'd love to, and maybe live, you know, maybe live and
a live
person,
Q&A.
you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it would be cool, you know, next time.
Thank you.